Hi, I'm Anthony Originello, CEO of the Chartered Professionals in Human Resources for BC and Yukon. We represent more than 8,000 members, and as the organization dedicated to advancing the HR profession through education, advocacy, awareness, professional development, as well as our recognized and impactful CPHR designation, we are proud to be a sponsor of this show. We have been the voice of the HR profession since 1942. Learn more about us at cphrbc.ca.
In this edition of Careers That Matter, I'm joined by Iman Goodarzi, who is a public scholar and PhD candidate at Concordia University's John Molson's School of Business. Iman, welcome. Tell me a little bit about what your job is. I know that you're a PhD candidate, but a public scholar. What exactly is a public scholar?
Thank you, Stuart, for having me. Yeah, that's a good question. Actually, as a PhD student, I'm just a simple student, but part of my career is doing research. So currently I'm researching social media addiction, social media overuse, and the ways that we can reduce the time on social media. And I'm designing platforms for doing that. And the other part of our career is teaching, right? As a researcher, I also would be a teacher at the university level. So that's another part of our career. But prior to joining the PhD program, I was a product manager in a company in my home country, and I did an MBA. So yeah, I had a career path both from industry and now from academia. So
okay, let's get to that. Let's get to that in a moment. I want to talk about what your day looks like right now, because if you're doing research and you're also teaching, how do you separate out what your day looks like? How many hours do you dedicate to both of those different areas of responsibility?
Yeah, it really depends on different programs, different universities, and many other factors. But for me, it works like whenever I have courses, for example, I'm going to spend a little bit more on the courses, preparing materials, going to the classes, answering the emails, following up with the students, and helping them with the projects they have. But in let's say, other semesters that I'm a little bit less overwhelmed with the let's say teaching stuff, the courses, I'm going to spend more time on research. But the best way is just balancing between them. I know that sometimes it's hard, especially at the beginning of the career. Whenever you are teaching a new course, it's really time consuming to prepare the material, go to the classes, just, to completely master the course. But after a while, after 1-2 semesters that you teach that course, it's going to be easier for you, definitely, and you can spend more time on your research. So that's how I'm just managing the time right now.
So is your day 8 hours, 9 hours, 10 hours? Do you ever actually turn off because you're always thinking?
Yeah, that's a really good question, because as a researcher, or let's say in general in academia, it seems that the time is more flexible. The working time is more flexible. For example, I can start my day at 10 a.m. or I can start it at 6 a.m. No matter. So it really depends on me and what I'm up to. But at the same time, there's no endpoint for that. So it means that after 8 hours, I cannot say goodbye. Okay, I'm done with the work, and now I'm heading back home. It doesn't work like that. I need to deliver the projects that I have in hand. So if it's research, I'm responsible with the team that I'm working with. So I need to do my job. I need to prepare that. So I need to spend time. Sometimes I go overtime a little bit. I spend night on the research. I'm answering emails sometimes. So it's hard to manage that part, because at the beginning it seems quite flexible, quite easy to do that. But if you don't spend some, let's say, limits for yourself, for the time that you are spending for different roles, let's say, you're going to be overwhelmed with many things.
But you enjoy the work, don't you?
Yeah, definitely I enjoy that. So one of the things that I really love is teaching. I love my students. I love the classrooms. And sometimes people tell me that, okay, it's going to be boring after a couple of years that you teach the same course or something. For me, it wasn't like that. So far, I really enjoy that. And because every time that I go to the classes, it's it's a new cohort of students, right? They bring their own mindset to the class. They are different, so they have different opinions. They come from different backgrounds, and it's really joyful. And every time I learn something from the students, I try to help them to learn something. So it's really joyful for me.
So let's go back to when you were quite a bit younger. I know that you're from Iran, and I'm not sure if the school system there is much like it is in Canada, where you have an elementary school and then sort of a secondary, which everybody takes. When you were completing that secondary part of your early education, did you say, yeah, I think that I want to go to Montreal and be a public scholar and a PhD candidate in marketing? Is that what you were thinking you were going to do?
Never.
What did you
Honestly,
think you were going to do?
yeah. Honestly, I wanted to run my own business in my country. So you never know what your career actually brings you. But for me, it was whenever I was doing my high school, I was studying mathematics. So the field that I studied was mathematics. And after that, I became an engineer. I went to university at the undergrad level and I studied civil engineering. And at the time, I thought, okay, I might be a construction person. I'm going to design the buildings, all those things. But after spending a couple of years in my undergrad, I realized that, okay, engineering is not probably my thing. So I was searching for a new path, new careers, and I was working in different fields. And I realized that, okay, business is something that really interests me. Business is something that I always was passionate about, but it was really down there and I never thought about that. So let's continue my education in a way that's more related to business. So I continued, I actually went to MBA business school and I studied my MBA there. And at the same time, I've worked in the industry in the same field. And that was really interesting for me. And I said, okay, I'm on the track. And I know that now what I'm doing right now, I really enjoyed that. But after a while, I realized that, okay, it's not satisfying me. Maybe running my own business, definitely that's part of my life. I really like to do that. But at the same time, I realized that, okay, most of the businesses that I'm working with as a consultant or something are dealing with some part of research. So I've conducted a couple of research and I realized that, okay, that's another path that I really like. And I didn't want to continue my PhD in my own country because I said, okay, I really want to go abroad and learn something new and probably bring it back to my country. And that was the point that I started my journey to Canada.
And so you kept remaining open to new insights. So you go, okay, I will explore this because I find it interesting. Then you reached a point where you went, no, I want another dimension to this. It takes bravery to do that because a lot of times you say, well, okay, I'm invested in this now. I have to see this through. And you stay that course. What was it that made you say, no, I'm willing to take a chance that I'm starting again in some ways at a lower level to get to a higher place?
Yeah, that's true. Actually, I have an expression when I go to the class, and I always tell to my students that I I moved, let's say, thousands of miles for being here and to change my life. And all the time, I ask them to, whenever you come to the class, change your seats, no matter if it's already taken by another person. So it's always good to change, right? Move. That's my idea. And I said, okay, I traveled for thousands of miles to be here and change my life. Why you are not interested in changing your seats, right? And yeah, that's really true. I started from something lower than what I was, but I think it's worth it because at the end, it really depends on the goals of your life. So I'm not suggesting anything to anyone, but for me, it was like I wasn't satisfied with what I was doing in Iran. I just wanted to learn more about other parts of the world, how different people are working, how different people are studying, how different education systems are look like, or other businesses in around the world look like, right? So, and the best place for me was Canada because of the diversity of the people that we have. I have many people from my country here, so I don't feel homesick, let's say. At the same time, I can see different cultures here. So instead of studying or going to other countries one by one and spending a lot of time, I came to Canada and I was happy because I saw that there are many subcultures here and I can learn from.
Well, thank you for giving us insight into your current job, which, based on your pattern, will continue to evolve and grow, and the path that you took to get here. And I really appreciate your suggestion of keep moving, change your seat, keep looking for
Yeah.
different perspectives. I think it's a great way to look at one's life and one's career. Thank you for giving us this little insight into your career history.
Thank you very much for having me. That was very pleasure.